Chair.
Sheba Frenson, District 2 Supervisor.
Auditor speaks for in a minute.
Ron Mick-Mickalaco, Supervisor, District 1, which is Airport Hills.
Sue Novacell, El Dorado, District 5.
Michael Rinaldi, District 4, your counterpart in the North County.
There you go.
All right, so would you please all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Supervisor Novacek, makes the lead us in a quick invocation.
Thank you. On your heads. Dear Lord, please give us this day to be able to be strong and make decisions that are best for our county. And thank you for allowing us all to be here today. And we wish for a strong and very thought-provoking day here. And thank you all for attending. Thank you very much. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sue. Okay, before we adopt the agenda, Supervisor Frenson is going to give us a little layout of how today's going to go. Supervisor Frenson.
First of all, I want to thank the Board of Supervisors to meet at this location. And just to give you a little bit of history, each supervisor gets to choose a location in their district. And this was my pick. The reason behind it is you guys are about 45 minutes an hour at times away from the Placerville location. So I hope that this would encourage the residents to participate in their government a little bit more. As far as today's agenda, I live in Cameron Park, lived there for 23 years, and when I saw this district last year and I had to be the elected official for it, it was very challenging to get my hands around the South County. So I met with very many groups, and what you have on the agenda is just a taste of, it's not the wine tasting, but just a taste of what's available and what groups are doing what in the South County. And I hope that you enjoy the day. Thank you everyone for being here. And I want to thank the staff to make this location happen, all the logistics behind it. I also want to acknowledge a very important person, Elaine Gilbert. Elaine, would you please stand up? And she worked really hard to make this happen. They say there is a powerful woman behind every successful man. There is a wonderful assistant behind every successful supervisor. So thank you so much, Elaine.
Thank you, Chair. We're a charter county, and in the 90s, our charter required the Board of Supervisors have a meeting once a year in every district, and they did for many years, all 5 districts. The charter was amended, I think it was in the mid-90s, that said it recommended it, and the reason why is it's very onerous. It's very hard to move our whole board meeting to these areas. We don't have resources, the staff, the logistics of it. We had a board meeting in District 1 for the first time, I believe it was 12 or 14 years, and it was successful. People got to come out and see what we do. We usually do ours in the spring. We've had one in District 5 for many years, and it's very good. It's an opportunity for the community to see what's going on with the board. We're very most of this district is unincorporated, so we are the legislative body for you. So I hope in the future that this is something that Supervisor Frenson can continue on, and we can have, meetings in hopefully District 4 next year if Supervisor Rinaldi so chooses. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Supervisor Mickalaco. All right, so next on our list is the adoption of the agenda and approval of consent calendar. This is an opportunity for the board members to pull a particular item, as well as we'll ask for the public's comment on it as well. So starting on my left, Supervisor Rinaldi, if you have anything on the adoption of the agenda or approval of the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did have a request for several items to be pulled. I think a couple of them merit some discussion. I think we should probably have a discussion about item 5. While I am completely supportive of item 7, I think we should discuss item 7. And I think it was suggested 31, but I see no reason for 31, but I will defer to my fellow supervisors. if they want to.
31 is general government department matters, so it's already open for discussion.
Okay, scratch that. That was a department item, I stand corrected.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Supervisor Novosel.
No changes for five.
Supervisor Frenzen.
Thank you, Chair. With those comments from District 4, I would like to either hear items 6 and 7 together or register a no vote on item number 6. And then I would like to request for item number 31 to continue to 12:15, where we have the opportunity to be at our regular location and give the auditor a chance to be there as well. This is a bold move, and we need to kind of have everybody at the table to discuss it.
So, I think what I'm hearing is you'd really like 6 to flow with 7, so we're gonna pull 6, flow 7, otherwise we're gonna register no vote.
I'm good with either way, so up to the board.
Well, they are related, so we'll pull 6 also. Or we'll attempt to pull 6.
And just for clarification, did you say 30?
Yes.
That's not a consent, though.
No, she's asking to continue
Requesting to continue.
to next week.
Next.
To next week.
Supervisor Michalaco.
So we're pulling 6 and 7, is that the final,
5, 6, and 7 would be the proposed.
no further changes?
Okay, and I have none as well. Is there any other board discussion on item 31?
I do have a comment on one item. I was gonna pull it, but I didn't see anyone here from the public defender's office.
Okay,
Chair?
thanks for coming.
Item 19 is a lease with the public defender's office, and I know that there was some discussion about finding a place for that office, that building there. It works, but I thought the intent was to try to be out of there. I see we're signing up for another year here, so I think that we maybe should follow up with facilities the first part of this year and talk about, some of the things that we're leasing, and there's a lot of challenges in that building there, and I know that there was some maintenance shortcomings there, whether we should pay for it, whatever the case may be. I'd like an update on that, so I'm gonna support the lease, but my understanding was we were looking to find another place for the public defender's office. Thank you, Chair.
I'd like to recommend we do a workshop on facilities as a whole sometime next month.
I think that's a pretty good recommendation right there.
Is there any comment relative to that item?
I would just let the board know, we are looking at facilities, and we're actually looking specifically to move the public defender's office, but we have not yet achieved a new lease, and so we have to renew this first. That's the reason for the deal. But happy to do a presentation on all
I
of
think that'd be
it.
good.
Can I have a follow-up to that?
Sure.
So, we've been looking for a couple of years. If in the next 3 months or 6 months, we find a place we're ready to move in, we've signed a year lease here, are we gonna be able to, or are we committed to this year financially if we move, or are we saying, hey, we found something tomorrow, it's gonna be a year to move in?
I don't know what the terms of the lease are. If you want to continue this item to next week, we will get you additional information.
Thank you, Chair.
You want to do that, Vic?
What's that?
Would you prefer to have the item continued a week,
Well,
so we have the term of the lease?
we can continue this, but I don't think it's gonna change. It's already been negotiated, there's an understanding between the property owner and what we're doing, and for us to change the decision point is a little late in the game, so
Okay.
regardless of the content of it, I think we'll just stay forward with this.
So back to 31. What's the board's pleasure on 31? You want to continue it a week? Or do you want to hear today?
I have no problem continuing.
I think we gotta hear the item. Deal with it.
Today?
I'm good with whatever you wanna do, either way, I have no preference.
My
You
issue
guys
is
sort it out.
we've got a responsibility to the fire district, and
I agree.
we're going to start to incur liability to them by not providing what they've asked us to provide, that is within legal counsel's framework of the decision to do that. So We just keep prolonging things by going a week and a week and a week, and that's my angst on the whole item, so.
Whether we hear,
They've already ordered the truck, they take delivery of the truck, and they need their money.
whether we hear this item now or next week or in the afternoon, it's not gonna change what I say, so.
So I just assume leave it on, but
Mr. Chairman, you don't have to act at this point on item 31, it's a departmental matter to be heard separately.
Right.
If you don't act on it right
Just
now.
leave it on the
You
agenda.
just simply approve the consent calendar, get on item 31.
All right, so before we go to the public, as it stands right now, we're gonna pull 5, 6, and 7 for discussion. So with that, we'll open up to public comment on the agenda, or the consent calendar. Anybody wishing to speak, come on up, state your name.
You could probably do it there.
Is that right?
I had put in 3 issues, 5, 7, and 31, and CCs to county council and their homes, and I didn't make that out, sorry, so I have copies for you now.
Now, the board.
The board has their copies, you have the three. You want to go through, shall I read them? What do you want to do?
I've read through them, so
I
I think we've all read them, Bernard.
Okay. Good. It's good that you have.
Bernie, you came all this way, I'll take one of your copies.
Okay.
I'll get it.
Well, no, I've got an extra if I'm not gonna read it. You can. I'm backing up with Pacific Legal on these issues.
Yeah.
For you to know.
Bernie, thank you.
Thank you. You're
Been a
welcome.
long time participant in politics.
Anybody else wishing to speak on consent or the agenda? Martin's coming up.
Mr. Chairman, item number 16, we would like to continue our meeting.
All right, Sue?
Number 16.
Name?
The Camino study for the overpass, I guess is on consent.
No, he just
Just pulled it.
for next week, it'll be next.
Continue the next week.
Continue, sorry.
I'd like to speak to something that's not on that list of items. Is this the time to do it?
Public forum will be next, so that would be there. This is the agenda or the consent agenda. Morning, Chris.
Just to a point of order, I didn't hear you vote on setting the agenda, and now we're in discussing items related to consent, but I didn't hear you take any action
We
to
take,
set.
we
set
take
it.
public comment on the, adopting the agenda and consent. Unless I'm-
You take public comment before you,
Yeah.
Before we print it out.
We've always-
We've already pulled
Okay.
5, 6, and 7.
Okay.
We've continued now 16 a
I'm
week.
still driving here.
That was Going coffee.
You gotta cross the bridge though, right?
Yeah, I just crossed the bridge. Very good. To the point of 5, 6, and 7, I'm specific to point 5 and and item number 7.
We're gonna pull them and discuss them, so.
You heard Bernard Carlson just speak to the letters that have been submitted from the Taxpayers Association. I'm not speaking in behalf of them, but I'm speaking about what they had written. Essentially, on 5, it was a question of just the administrative process. So specific to 5, it's only the administrative process and making sure that it is correct. That was essentially the reason why the letter was written. There was a feeling on the part of the Taxpayers Association that it hadn't been done correctly. And that we needed just to take a moment, take a deep breath, and just get it right. That was on 5.
Chris, there's pulled, so there will be another discussion carried on. We're gonna talk about it, we're gonna talk about the process to hopefully alleviate that issue. And then you can comment there.
Okay.
Okay. The drive really did get to you.
I appreciate it. Sorry,
you guys.
I'll get my brain going here.
Anybody else wishing to speak about an item on the consent or the agenda? Okay, seeing none, Jim, you want to?
Certainly, we're continuing item, or I'm sorry, pulling items 5, 6, and 7 for discussion, and we are continuing item number 16 to December 15th.
Move as amended.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Nally, second by Supervisor Finkalaco. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously approved. Okay, now we're at open forum. This is the opportunity to talk about anything that's not on the agenda, and we ask that you keep it to about 3 minutes, and please state your name for the record, so we have that for the record. So, same way, come on up and welcome.
Thanks. Can you hear me? My name is Mary Tran. I live here in South County on about 10 acres. And thank you for the opportunity to talk with you. I'd like to make a proposal. In the Butte and Valley fires, a lot of the private land was actually held by small landholders. This is in contrast to the King Fire, where a lot of the burned area was in large holdings, either public or timber companies. Here in South County, it's like Butte and Valley in the sense that a lot of the woodland and forest is actually held in small parcels, 5, 10, 15 acres. Why this matters? After a fire, large landholders are likely to have forest management plans. They have post-fire recovery plans, plus they have staff, equipment, and resources for fire recovery. Small landholders mostly lack all of the above, and probably have previously not thought of themselves as forest stewards, and have not needed to coordinate with each other for either prevention or post-fire recovery, except what the splendid fire safe councils are doing. So here's my proposal, that the County Board of Supervisors hold a town meeting or a workshop called something like Forest Stewardship and Fire Recovery for Small Landholders. It should include representatives of relevant agencies, federal, state, county, locals, and businesses, nurseries, proceedings, and volunteers, and small landholders. And the purpose, there are 4 main purposes. One is to put forward the idea of forest stewardship among small landholders. 2, to provide some training about post-fire recovery, what the tasks are, what the resources, what the grants are, and so on. 3, to provide a public forum for small landholders to express concerns and develop some solutions among ourselves, and develop maybe some consensus among ourselves about ways to proceed. And specifically, we would address erosion control. Who does it? How do you do it? Management of invasive weeds, big problem post-fire. Who does it? How do you do it? Replanting and restoration. What should be replanted? When? Who's preparing seedlings? And 4th, forest management plans. What their value is, what to put in one, how to develop a plan, and maybe how to develop groups of landholders to develop the plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Wayne Lowry,
Mr. Veerkamp,
welcome.
are you okay if we speak from here rather than?
I think you can hear, John, you got him okay? Get his right side, it's his best side. Welcome, Wayne.
Oh, thank you. My name is Wayne Lowry. I'm president of the board of directors of El Dorado Hills Community Services District. And I have with me our director of parks and planning, Kevin Lowen, who right now is also acting general manager in the absence of Dennis, who was going to be here today. Purpose of our being here, one was to get out of the fog and see some sunshine, which I'm a little disappointed. I didn't think it would go this high up the hill. The other is to share with you something that's going to be before you eventually, and that's about the El Dorado Hills Central Specific Plan that's been proposed. That's an area north of Highway 50 along El Dorado Hills Boulevard. It includes the old golf course behind Rayleigh's. That golf course was a open space area obviously, for a number of years, improved in green and beautiful. And now it's just open space. There's a few more oak trees on it, but other than that, it's just a beautiful spot of El Dorado Hills. There's been a proposal to put 763 homes on that golf course and to develop it. And I will certainly agree that I've seen the proposal. I like the proposal. I just don't like where it's being placed, speaking for myself. But what I'm here to do is to represent our board, who recently we sponsored Measure E, which was an effort to communicate to the county Board of Supervisors and Planning Commission our hope to not develop the golf course area. It doesn't speak to the rest of the specific plan that's been proposed, just the golf course. Like I mentioned, it's been open space literally forever. We'd like to see it stay at open space, whether it gets improved into a park or something of that nature is to be seen. If the developer continues to own it, we hope that he would do some sort of recreational improvement on it. The Measure E had over 9,000 people participate in that election. It was an off-year election. 91% voted to not rezone that. I've never, in my entire career in public service, seen an election that lopsided. So we feel it's very significant. And our board adopted a resolution, which may be wrong. That's down.
What do you think?
To share with you our concerns and thoughts about not rezoning that parcel of land. And Kevin, have anything you want to add?
Just to add on to that, you know, the Community Services District, one of its primary roles is parks and recreation, but we also have a mission to enhance the quality of life of our residents through responsible and innovative leadership. We service well over 40,000 residents in our district, and we had a huge voter turnout. I think it was well over 40% that of registered voters came out on this Measure E that was sponsored by the district, and you heard the results there. Over 91% read the language. Do you want to see this area rezoned when it comes before the county supervisors? And the answer was no. They strongly voted they do not want to see it rezoned. They'd like to see it remain as open space recreation facilities. And I do agree. The plan put forward in that the Central El Dorado Hills specific plan it's attractive. But it's also very attractive to keep that large swath of open space on the main drag in El Dorado Hills, kind of what we call the heart of it, that boulevard there. And if there's a way to preserve that and do something for the community to enhance the quality of life for them, that's what our board is trying to do, and that's why they did sponsor Measure E. They were asked by the voters, by the residents there, to do this. And so we're here also just to convey the results. So thank you for the time.
So, thank you very much.
Thanks for the slideshow. It's other open space in El Dorado County.
It'll get better, right, Pat?
And I'm gonna pause. We've got another picture, so we'll-
Wayne, thank you.
Thank you,
See you.
Wayne. Travel safe. Merry Christmas. All right, anybody else? Sue?
Taylor, I want to ditto on what the last two speakers said, and I actually looked into that property and the approvals that was done for Serrano and that whole community. The original approvals included golf courses, and through time, one of those, I think, was no longer a golf course. It was kind of consumed into development. And when those projects, those giant projects are approved, a lot of that open space is part of the mitigation of the original project. So I'd be really, and I've never seen a 91% approval of anything in my whole life. So I really hope you take consideration, because it all lays on the 5 reviews, which way that person's going. And that's why there's so much, that they spent so much money to give you those answers about that community. I hope you really take that into consideration.
Thank you, Sue. Any other public open forum? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go to departments, supervisor reports. Larry, anything from any departments? Okay, Supervisor Rowley?
We're doing to and froms?
Well, it's not really to and from, it's just anything, the meetings and so forth that you've been to, that's what.
I think that, just this past past weekend was a very significant opportunity for communities to come together for holiday events. I know that I had the opportunity to participate in tree lightings in both Cool, who's starting a new tradition of a Christmas and holiday event there, and a long-standing tradition in Georgetown where they've lighted a tree and had a parade of lights. Great opportunity for the community to come together. Of particular note in Georgetown, this is always done right in front of the fire station. And it reminds me of a tradition that we seem to have moved away from, where the community comes together around the fire station. And it's great to see every year, and it's great to participate in that, and I'm happy to do it. I think also, you know, as we spoke about having meetings in the various districts, District 2 and District 4 have a whole lot in common. You know, we've got areas that are more urban, and then we've got areas that are extremely rural. When Mary spoke earlier, she talked about some of the differences in the King Fire. Certainly see that in my district, where there are large holdings by timber companies compared to the small ones, so that resonates very, very well with me. And, you know, I'm hoping that next year we can have a similar Board of Supervisors meeting. I'm thinking maybe Uncle Tom's Cabin, but might need a generator.
Supervisor Novosello?
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to say how happy I am to be in South County here. Beautiful. My sister and my mom live in Sutter Creek, so it was really nice to come up this morning. We were staying there last night. It's beautiful, beautiful we have here. But you know, I just want to ditto on what Supervisor Renali said. I was at a tree lighting up in my district's up in South Lake Tahoe. I live in Myers up there. We had a tree lighting. If you go into South Lake Tahoe now, first thing you see is this big giant tree in Myers. It's kind of ugly looking. It's not really pretty, but it's the biggest tree we have in our community. So we lit it up last Friday. It was nice. We had Santa arrive in a CAL FIRE helicopter. It was very special, very cool, and closed down Highway 50 for about 15 minutes while Santa jumped out. So kids were just so excited. It's like the 5th year they've done it. So it was really special. So very cool. And then I did want to report out on the kind of just do a quick report out on our conference we had last week. We were all down in Monterey for a conference of all of our supervisors, and it was really nice. It's a great time for us to be able to collaborate with our fellow supervisors throughout the state. I happened to sit next to San Bernardino County Supervisor at one point, and we got a lot of work to do in our country to get a lot of things straight. I sit on the mental health committee for our county, and to me that's where we've got to start is looking at what we're doing with our mental health problems, because we got a lot of work. But at any rate, it was very interesting and sobering to be sitting in that conference last week when everything was going on. And then just to let you guys all know, this week I'm going to be attending up in Tahoe a collaborative leadership meeting. It'll be the first of its kind. We're going to be meeting with Douglas County County Commissioner and myself and City of South Lake Tahoe Mayor, and we're going to be sitting down and talking about what we can all do as far as in the South Shore. Those are all 3 little divisions up there, and come together and see if there's issues that we can kind of work on all at once. So I'm big into collaborating as much as we can with all of our districts. So that's it.
Thanks, Supervisor Novosello.
Sure.
Supervisor President?
Thank you, Supervisor Novosello. You said it's one of the ugliest, it's an ugly tree. Is it one of those cell tower trees that you're going
No, that's a real tree. It's a juniper tree.
That's
but
called
it's
an Eldorado
really-
Hills tree.
This one's alive, but it's ugly.
It worked for Charlie Brown.
Yeah, big trouble.
Great. So a couple of reports. Last Wednesday, the Dorado County Transportation Commission had Assemblyman Frazier, who participated in a tour in our county to address or kind of see what our needs are as far as transportation goes. So staff did a great job, great way of meeting the Assemblyman, and it was a great experience. So we are on the map, and we have someone who cares about our county. So that was great, and I know Supervisor Bierkamp was also present at that meeting. LAFCO, last Wednesday, again, nothing exciting. I will be serving on the Budget Ad Hoc Committee for LAFCO, and will be reporting back to the board. Thank you.
Thanks, Supervisor Michelacco.
Thank you, Chair. A little ground to cover here. So as Supervisor Novosel spoke about, last week was a conference called CSAC, California State Association of Counties. In the same way that counties where the rubber meets the road for services with the community, CSAC helps the counties understand where the rubber meets the road with the state. And a lot of what we do and the services we provide are funded by the state. So once a year we get together and talk about a lot of the legislation that's coming out, the budget from the state, and help us kind of sort out and understand what's good and what's bad. Like, for instance, there's some challenges with the state, money for roads. But we found out that the federal government passed what's called the FAST Act, which will provide some certainty in the future for bridges and roads at the federal level. I was reminded by this because on the way here, I was cruising along, the speed limit, of course, and I came to a bridge and it said yield for oncoming traffic. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? This little narrow bridge, and that was Bucks Bar Bridge. We heard this 2 years ago. I remember looking at the pictures going, this isn't so bad. Big deal here. And we made a decision to replace that bridge. It's in the queue. The wheels of government turn slow. And had the federal government FAST Act not been approved, had there been issues that it would have, that process would have taken even longer, okay? But there is some certainty there. And not only that, they're going to put a little extra money into bridges. So that's good news. The challenges with Bucks Bar Bridge, it looks like it's going to happen later rather than sooner. I don't want to mislead you, but it's going to happen, okay? I learned that Assemblyman Frazier was at the Transportation Commission. I'm disappointed I didn't get to meet him, but I'll have to follow up with him. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Supervisor Michelacco. Just quickly and briefly from District 3, as been alluded to, Jim Frazier was in our area. Transportation Commission arranged a great tour of himself, Caltrans Director, city and county staff, and it went very well. And having the Transportation Director for the state of California elected in our county, in a rural county, is a big deal. And it was the only county he elected to come to, so as far as rural county. So we made some great points, and he certainly understands that all of our state is not flat and can't be serviced by a bullet train or twin tunnels and those sorts of things. So a good person to know, and I believe have on our side. So it was a great day. Our Transportation Commissioner, Sharon Schwartzer, put it all together. Included a lunch with some other electeds, but it toured pretty much the entire county. And projects that we've completed. There was also a CSBA conference late last week. I did not get to the CSAC because of the tour with Frazier, but I did attend the CSBA conference, which is pretty much a school boards related conference. But what they focus on too are governance related issues. So I was able to attend a special session on the Brown Act, a new session called Call to Order, Good Governance in Meetings. Very interesting presentation, which now they've got a book on. We're looking to bring that particular presentation to the county and share it with all boards. I think it would be very good for all of them to have. And then general sessions, which were really good on the state of the state, as well as the 2016 general election for state and national elections. So there was some very good information presented there on the strategies behind our local or our national level politics. And it would take forever to talk about here today, so we're not going to go any farther than that. Also, Supervisor Friends mentioned LAFCO. Yes, we had that last week. One final thing, the city of Placerville also had a great Christmas parade. If anybody came into that on Sunday, well attended. The weather gods helped us, and there were elves and Santa Claus and
Santa made it.
everything. Yeah, it was a great parade, so thanks to all those that participated, and it really makes the community come together, as Supervisor Riley was talking about. So with that, we will head on into anything from the, yes, Jim?
Actually, need to have the adoption of the agenda formally, a motion for that. We do, move that with calendar, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
Yes, yeah. It was unanimous, yeah.
It was moved by Rinaldi, seconded by Michelangelo, it was 5-0 vote.
Oh, I see.
So CAO update, Larry, CAO? Okay, so I believe then, Jim, we would be at item 5. I'm sorry.
Just time-wise.
Oh, yeah, nice. Okay. Oh, yes, we do, I'm sorry. Yes. So we're not at item 5, we're at 9 AM time allocation.
Did you hear 9?
We'll turn it over to Supervisor Frenzen.
Great. Well, this portion of the agenda is organized so it would give you an idea of the different fire safe councils in South County, some of the challenges they have, what they have accomplished, and you know, moving forward, what plans they have. Also, the Pioneer Fire Protection District is going to have a brief presentation. So we're going to hear from Dorado County, Fire Safe Council, Logtown, Sandwich, Grizzly Flats, Fire Safe Council. So in that order.
Morning, Pat.
I was asking, are we gonna have time for each one of these here? I mean,
It's going to be, the first one is going to be about 10 minutes or so, depending on how many
There's
questions
103.
yeah, I know,
Well, that's ours, Pat.
and the rest of them are going to be about 5 minutes.
I wasn't asking because as chair, it's terribly uncomfortable when you're 6'4", but,
Mr. Chairman, Board, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present to you the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council accomplishments from the prior period, and then our challenges and anticipation in the future. I'd like to thank Supervisor Frenzen for having this focus on fire safe, especially in the South County. So great, thank you very much. Good opportunity. Next slide. This is our mission statement. I hate it when people read slides to me, but this one's important. The El Dorado County Fire Safe Council's mission is to help protect people and their property from the wildfire through education, cooperation, innovation, and action. These are key words, and you'll see slides that pertain to these in the future. Here in part of the 104 slides I've got. But there are also tabs at our website, on the top of our website, that relate to our mission. So people can go to our website, edcfiresafe.org, and click on these tabs, and under the education drop-down, there's all kinds of links to CAL FIRE, Ready, Set, Go, how to evacuate, a lot of resources there. Cooperation, all our cooperators that I'll talk about in a minute. And action, that's where the populace can go and click and find out how do they get a green waste dumpster for their community in a community cleanup day. How do they schedule chipping? So there's the action part. Next slide. Education, we do a lot of stuff, a lot of events, a lot of mailings, paper products that a lot of times, unfortunately, are not as effective as they used to be. So we're moving more into baby steps into the social media and electronic format of communicating fire safe material, as I reported to you. We did have a couple of unique things. We're doing the Facebook and Nextdoor that's working pretty well. It's a pretty good way to do a blast out to your whole community with meeting notices, with no burn days, with those things that they might see in other press, but it's just a reinforcer. We also had some pretty good articles in the Mountain Democrat for a couple of them, and also had fun going up to Georgetown and did a 1-hour radio interview with Mark Egbert and the Fire Safe Council up there, and it was a lot of fun. It's kind of like an "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," where you talk into the can. Next. We're really proud that we got some national recognition for our Fire Safe Council, and more importantly, the people that make it go. Ken and Nancy Hasse, as you know, from the board recognition, one of 11 in the country that received this award. Very prestigious, brought great credit to our county, and really proud of that. Also, Heather Campbell up in Pollock Pines doing the Pollock Pines Wildfire Preparedness Day Award, one of 45 in the country that they received $500 to put on a Wildfire Preparedness Day, and they did a good job. So, great people doing things. Cooperation, we really reached out and trying to rekindle those connections and being very successful. I forgot to do my introductions. Steve Willis is the vice chair of our County Fire Safe Council, also chair of the Lake Hills Fire Safe Council. Has worked really hard in building these partnerships, keeping our partners in the communication link. And thank you very much, Steve. Also, we have Ernie Laurie here, who is a board member and from the Grizzly Flat Fire Safe Council. We've got some other council members here. Chris Payne from the newly formed Patterson Fire Safe Council in Diamond Springs. Mark Almer, who is the chair of the Grizzly Flat Fire Safe Council, and he brought the Hallelujah Choir with him. And also Linda Colombo, who is the Sandridge Fire Safe Council, not currently part of our county, but certainly doing great things. So we're happy to have the focus on fire safe councils and build those kind of relationships. The innovation part, I've had to think, what have we really done that's innovative? You know, it's hard to say. But thinking about it, a lot of the counties have a staff person that's paid through the OES or through the RCD that manages the fire safe councils. We've managed to do it with an all-volunteer board. Our board members just contribute thousands of hours, and the county and the sub-fire safe council. And it's really, really been productive. It's really good. It's nice to have people involved because they want to be involved, not because they're reaching for that dollar. We've taken our project management, and instead of having a full-time executive coordinator, each time we get a project, we call out a little bit of money for the management part of that to people that are experienced in that. It's focused on that project, and it gives us a lot of flexibility. Next. And that's kind of what this is all about. The volunteers really keep our overhead costs very low. We're about 7%. So 93% of the money that we get goes into projects. I told you about the project management. There should be a little slice out of here, about 11%. It's not an indirect, it's not an overhead cost, it's an indirect cost of supporting that particular project. But still, we're putting boots on the ground and trying to maximize those dollars to effect to make the county more fire safe. All the action, like I said, we help residents. It's their responsibility to clear defensible space. That's clear. And we help them to do that by providing support. We don't do it for them. We encourage it and assist them. We also help communities in their fire safe activities, like you saw with Pollock Pines and their days and their community days, and like just Sunday in Poole was the Christmas thing, and we had a booth there. You weren't the Grinch, were you?
No, I was the other guy with the red hat.
Oh, okay.
Not the popular guy.
We also help seniors. We partnered with the El Dorado County Friends of Seniors and Ernie manages that program for us. I had 29 applications of seniors that are both physically incapable of maintaining their defensible space and financially unable to pay somebody to do it. Again, it's their responsibility. It's part of living here.
Well, there are a lot of those.
Yeah. And so we're looking to maybe get some corporate contributions and expand that a little bit. There's some prohibition about using SRA or federal money to do work that's clearly the responsibility of the residents. So we're working on that one. Ernie's got some great ideas. And then the big one here is doing the fuel reduction projects, and you're gonna hear about a few of them in a couple of minutes. So what are the accomplishments that we've had this year? We got 5 new our goal was to create 2 new councils. We ended up with 5. And so we're growing fast. We got over $500,000 in grant money coming into this county, either from money that we've paid out or from the federal funds that are coming in. We helped residents, communities, things I've already talked about. We're putting together a plan for the future, which I'll talk about in a second. Here's the fire safe councils. The one in red are the new ones. Pollock Pines is a yearling now, so we can probably turn them into black. Again, Patterson, Chris is here. And Sandridge is, again, not affiliated, but certainly an important part of the whole fire protection effort. Next. Here's kind of our scorecard. Over the last 3 years, we've submitted 21 grants for a total of almost $1.8 million. We were awarded 12 of those 21 for a total of some change, about $1 million. So we're batting about 600, which in the grant world isn't too bad. Again, bringing this money, and this is from many different sources. This is federal money, this is state SRA money, this is PG&E money, SMUD money. Wherever we can sniff out some funds to help us, we pursue those. One of the big things that we're working on is a plan, a county-wide wildfire protection plan. And you're going to hear more about CWPPs, which is the acronym. We have many, many communities. We have about 13 of these community wildfire protection plans. And they're really good. And I'll tell you a little bit about Logtown when I put on my other hat. But they're pretty formal documents that has to be prepared by a registered professional forester. It has to be coordinated through all the agencies and approved by the Board of Supervisors. We have 12 or 13 of those, and they're like puzzle pieces laying on a table. And what we're trying to do with this is put them all together to make a picture for the whole county. So that's where we're working. What's going to happen, and what's happening right now, is we contracted with Spatial Informatics Group, SIG, to do computer modeling of the terrain, the wind patterns, the vegetation, and come up with these computer models of where are the fire risks in our county. Then we're in the process of validating those models, because computer models are computer models, and they take input, and sometimes, they don't come out right. So right now, we're encouraging everybody in the county to go to our webpage, click on a survey that asks all the residents, where do you think the danger is in your neighborhood? Where do you think the fuel reduction needs to be done? Where do you think are choke points on your evacuation routes? So we would highly encourage all the people in our communities to do that. It's, again, a survey monkey, and I know we let the monkeys loose because we've got the county strategic plan survey, we've got the mental health survey, we've got the parks and trails survey, so there's a lot of monkeys running around. But it's really important. It's a good vehicle for us as residents to be able to go in independently at your kitchen table and make your voice heard. So I would highly encourage anybody to participate in all of those surveys, because if you don't, you really missed a chance. So the end result is we'll take the computer model, the result of the surveys, print out big maps, take them out to the communities, put them on the table and say, okay, here's what the model said, here's what you said. We'll coordinate with the local fire districts like Pioneer. Here's what they think. They'll either say no, yes, whatever. And then same thing with CAL FIRE. So we will have a coordinated model for the whole county, and as well as revalidate the models for each of the communities. So this is a huge project. It'll be done about a year from March, so we're moving along. We'll be taking the maps out to the communities this spring and starting that process. Pretty excited about that. And the real bottom line is, okay, when we get all these models and maps, papers and things done, what are really the projects in our county that are gonna give us the most bang for the buck, protect the most people, be of the most value? Because you can put in grants for fuel reduction pretty much anywhere, and if it's not where it needs to be, it's probably been counterproductive. Next. So here's some of the challenges that we face when we go out with these projects, like you're gonna hear about. Getting homeowners to agree, because like the presentation earlier, a lot of this land is private, smaller parcels. And before we can go in and do any work, it's not like working with SPI where they own thousands of acres. There might be 100 parcels in there, and we have to get right of entry agreement from each of the landowners to go in and do fuel reduction on their property. And it's, oh, please let us come spend our money to help you make your house safe. But there's a lot of resistance. A lot of times people say, no, you know, that gives me a screen from the road. I like my privacy. I don't want you to trim up. We don't cut down big trees. We limb things up and clean up the brush. Sometimes it exposes their garden.
I think what you're saying is that we don't go cut trees, we take out the ladder fuels.
Correct.
Which is the small stuff.
Right. Another challenge is the hazard abatement that you all have been working on for us, and we'll see how that works out, hopefully good. There's a lot of people that own property in El Dorado County that are absentee. And so just trying to find them is a challenge. And then a lot of times it's 2 or 3 generations removed, and it's a difficult thing.
Nobody knows nothing.
Yeah. That's it.
Pat, while you're right there, and we're sort of, feeling this out, but on the hazard abatement, absentee property owners, right of entry agreements, what type of feedback are you getting, and we've got a little bit different pattern today, how do the property owners feel about an ordinance that would require 4291 on the county level? It's a state requirement. State doesn't have the ability, even though they're charging us the fire fee and all that, to enforce it. If the county had the ordinance, the local fire districts did the pre-inspections, and then the follow-up was done by a contractor to meet 4291. That's something other counties have done, and we're looking for input back before we go down that road.
Because this is a little tricky.
It is, because again, it's private property rights. But realistically, state law, 4291, says you're supposed to do it. So, in other areas, the programs work very well. And it's basically a defensible space ordinance throughout the county that has a funding mechanism tied to it. And the ultimate ends up being the property owner in the long run. We just seed it, and then after the end result of cleaning up the property, it goes on the tax bill. So anyway, that's being discussed, and we'd love input and
From almost every meeting that we go to, this is a topic. And it's usually that 3 billy goats gruff kind of thing.
Right.
My neighbor hasn't cleaned up their thing. Eat Billy #1 because he's much tastier than I am. But the real key is when the inspections happen, they don't just pick one piece of property. They come through and do the whole street. So sometimes you got to be careful what you ask for. I'm certain that most of the people that do their defensible space would love to have that ordinance, because the people that don't put everyone at risk. The execution of it might be difficult.
Well, the other driving factor, and it's really become a reality, is box number 4. Insurance companies are pulling out of the county big time. And whether it's a King fire or a Sand fire, it's just more evidence that it's going to continue to occur, and then our people can't get insurance. So I think we've got to be proactive in this matter, and we got to show the insurance companies that wildfire in El Dorado County is not acceptable, and prevention's the only way. Suppression costs us way too much money.
Well said.
It'd be nice to have some help from the state insurance commissioner as well.
And I think we can work on that as a coalition, so, anyway, I don't wanna steal your presentation.
That's all right, no, you're doing a better job than
No, I'm not.
Another challenge is a lot of the federal grants now require dollar for dollar match. And, you know, and a project really needs to be about $100,000, just, that's 40, 50 acres of clearing. Smaller than that, takes a lot of management to do a little bit of work. And so to get $100,000 to match that federal grant, you can't do enough bake sales to raise $100,000. So that's a challenge for us, is trying to find out how can we parlay non-federal money, like use the CCC, get PG&E to kick in somebody else to, so this is really a problem. It's not a problem with the SRA grants yet, but we'll see. Another challenge we have is apathy. People don't care, you know. I bought a cabin up here to be in the woods. That's the way I like it. So it's an issue. And then another one, I took this off and then I put it back on, is we have volunteer burnout. I was bragging about how our volunteers are so successful and we're not paid. Pretty soon, people say, you know, my handicap index is really suffering, I need to go do something else. And it can be a challenge, especially when the people that you're trying to help start throwing rocks at you. So, you know, our volunteers just say, I don't need this, I'm leaving, I'm gonna go do something else. Next. So the future, we want to make this countywide. We're kind of leading the edge of things. There are a few other counties that have a countywide fire protection plan. In my opinion, they're not where they need to be. So I think we can establish a new standard with the CWPP and lead the state in our CWPP. We want to maximize grant, keep overhead, blah, blah, blah. The real bottom line is, we want to make El Dorado County the premier fire-safe county in the state. So that's where we are, that's what we're doing. Questions, comments?
I think the biggest comment, Pat, is to you as well as the people who have stepped up in the fire safe councils. This would not happen without you, and it is a very low-cost investment, and it's one of the most important ones, I think, in the county. So I think from all of us, our hats off to you. We appreciate that, and we can work better collaboratively to even make it achieve your goal, and that's what we've got to do.
Thank you,
Supervisor McLaughlin.
So, a couple of years ago, they formed, the Lake Hills Fire Sale Council was formed, and again, I want to acknowledge Steve Wills for the work he's done. And thankfully, you didn't have volunteer burnout, because I don't think we would be along where we are, but I know there's different examples of ladder fuel challenges, but here at Lake Hills, you had a kind of a densely populated community, and it butted right up to the rural area. And there wasn't much of a buffer there. There was a lot of brush, and it was next to Folsom Lake. There was a lot of driftwood and very, very dry fuels, and a lot of it. There were some lessons learned years ago, and it was called the Oakland Fire, where a fire got so hot it started sweeping through. And what they found out is that what really got it to that point was a lot of the ladder fuels, a lot of the brushes, and all this just stuff that built up over time. And by, you talked about some of the chipping in here, 66,000 cubic yards, a lot of chipping. That's where they take the brush and they chip it. I'm not talking about cutting trees down or clear cutting or any of that. And what's happened is they've created a buffer. So if a fire did happen, there'd be an opportunity for the firemen to fight the fire. The challenge with Lake Hills, with the design in the 60s and 70s, is that not a lot of thought was given to a mass evacuation. It was kind of built piecemeal over time. If you had to do a mass evacuation in a densely populated area with road structure, there would be some challenges. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so this money you talked about, funding streams, I pay, I think it's $115 a year, whatever it is, fire fee. I'm not happy about this. What am I getting for this? Well, we applied for CAL FIRE grants, and that is some of the money coming back. We're not getting dollar for dollar back, but we're getting some of it back. And it's coming back in the form of resources to do chipping. I had a lot of heartburn over the process. He talked about the CWPP and all his paperwork. I'm not a big paperwork guy, but it's part of the process. But we've reached a point now where we can put money into boots on the ground. guys and gals going out there and chipping stuff and taking ladder fuels out. So stay with the process, because you'll start seeing results. And forbid there'd be a big fire, but you'll be glad to get some of these projects that are happening. Thank you.
Supervisor Friendly.
I just want to real quick thank all the volunteers, not you. This program, the safety would not be possible. And I think in the suburb of Elvira Hills and Cameron Park, we take it for granted that we don't have to deal with the same safety issues and the challenges. But you do a great job. I was introduced to this as your county supervisor, and my hat's off to you. So thank you.
Yeah, I just quickly, I don't know what's going on with vacant lot abatement, but that's a big problem we have in my district, in particular at the top. We have so many, some of our vacant lots are owned by the government, basically, where they're trying to deal with that, and there's a big difference between fire suppression and defensible space on what that means. And when you're butting your private landowner next to a government lot, it becomes an issue on how do you get dispensable space when that's not what they're looking at. So I know there's a lot of issues there. We've been dealing with it. Heather Campbell up in Pollock Pines, and it's been unbelievable. And I know you guys all have people like that in your districts, and that's exactly like you're talking about, the volunteer base being amazing. But that's the kind of issues that we're really trying to address right now, or how we get everybody, because like I said, you're only as safe as your next lot, the lot next to you. And that's a big problem. So I appreciate you, really appreciate all your volunteers getting out there and working so hard.
Thank you. I really should add that point to the challenge slide about making parcels and
Yeah.
governmental. Thank you.
Big issue.
Yes, sir.
Doug Updike up in Grizzly Flats. Chairman Veerkamp asked for some kind of input, and where I live, in order to have defensible space, I would have to do work on neighboring land. And luckily, my neighboring landowner is okay with this. And I'm working on his property. He has a large parcel, and he's working on around his house. But there are parcels that it's impossible, just like you're saying. And the only model that seems to work for some kind of enforcement, because you can only take somebody so far. If defensible space is going to make sense, and if we want to avoid more king fires, sand fires, etc., and burning down houses, the county has got to have some kind of hammer, and they've got to be willing to use it in order to try and force people that are unwilling to go. I mean, I'm a private property rights person, but if defensible space is going to work, we're going to have to step on some private property. And it isn't harming the property. It's actually improving the quality, it's improving the forest ecology. And so I, for one, am strongly for the county getting some kind of an abatement ordinance that would allow these private landowners that are either absentee or apathetic to drag them into this.
Yeah. And on those larger parcels, CWPPs, as long as it's consistent, you would just arbitrarily pick anybody out. It's all done based on planning.
Yeah.
And what Pat didn't mention yet as well is initially now, in partnership with SMUD and PG&E, the easements are there. So that on us to go out and start working on those. So our Department of Transportation, CDA, SMUD, PG&E, we're starting to work on the easements. They're the easiest thing to go after, which makes great fire breaks. We've got a 5-week CCC grant for the corridor, JPA corridor, the train and the trail. So they're gonna start working on that hopefully within a couple of weeks. Those are there, those are no-brainers. The other piece will be the people, and that's where we're gonna need everybody to help us do that, because it will be contentious, but I think for public safety, that's where we gotta draw the line. And as well, then you can't get insurance, and how can you live it?
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, hang on. Let me just take a couple quick comments, and then we'll pull back here.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
one quick comment. I'm Randy Rossi with Saluti Sellers. We have a couple hundred acres. We found works real well, and Steve and others know that it's one thing clearing out the underbrush and getting that down. It grows right back after just a few years. I would encourage you to think outside the box a little bit by addressing two things. There are goat farmers, and we use goat farmers on our property that take care of about 150 acres. They're looking for land. All they need is fencing and some liability insurance. So rather than having to deal with this year after year after year after year, go with some of these people who want the land. They'll use your land to raise sheep and goats. All you have to do is pay for fencing one time and maybe some liability insurance. And you can take care of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres without having to even use volunteers.
Anything else? Yep. Dave?
I actually had this down as one of my comments for when we got to this particular section, because I know that the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council has come a long ways in the last 5 years, a long ways. And always with the little ones, they're driven, they're personality driven. You know, Linda Colombo has owned Sand Ridge. You know, Mark is driving the ship, and Steve Huckner's writing grants and has proposals going all the time. So it's really personality driven, and my concern is in fact the volunteer burnout. Because first of all, it takes a lot of energy to get it going, and working with the Pleasant Valley Grange Fire Safe Council, I can tell you how hard that is to gain momentum. And then second is, you gotta be able to tap into the resources, and I think that's where Pat's and his leadership has made a big difference. But it has come to a point, I believe, that requires an agenda item to not only talk about what we need to do to help and build the fire safe councils and what the individual items are, you know, the weed abatement process of getting access for the right of entry and all that kind of stuff. But we also have to start looking at what's involved with our rural centers. I mean, out here, it's different out here, okay? And those that drove out here understand what that means. Those that live out here already know what that means. But we have 7 rural centers in this part of the world. 2 of them have no commerce. 2 of them actually 3 of them have no commerce. But, you know, Olmo Ranch, it's the school. So we can't go through an SRA process because it's not a residence, it's not a habitable building on that process, on that property. Yet we have Grizzly and Outingdale, which have, you know, Grizzly's working their way through their system. Outingdale has huge challenges too, and they haven't been working on those issues down in there. But they're residences, so we can use the SRA money to be challenging that. But, you know, fair play matters. Somerset matters. I mean, the difference between the two is one's a 3-way stop sign and one's a 4-way stop sign. But with so little commerce, I mean, we have 13 businesses in 7 rural centers. But those are critical businesses that have survived all the things that have been going on the last few years. And when we get into the insurance side of it, you know, when you have a broad area like the Fair Play to Olmo to Mount Auckham, we don't have the density and the mass where you drive the enthusiasm and the motivation to get it done. So we've got a lot of challenges on that particular front. I believe the whole concept is right for a workshop or some sort of an agenda, so we can start talking about this, battle the insurance pieces, and start putting together a plan for those of us that choose to live out in the rural part of the land here.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Any other, yes, Lori?
The survey, when is it closing and how is it advertised? And I get a lot of emails, I don't recall it, but.
It's on our website. It's an EDC for El Dorado County, Fire Safe, all one, EDC Fire Safe, all together, .org. And there's a button there that talks about the survey and clicks. We've worked through the local fire safe councils in their minutes and in their flyers and in their newsletters to promote participation. There was an article in the Mountain Democrat that encouraged that, so.
Well, I guess what my question is this is a countywide survey, so did the county send out through their system, did you guys ask the county to do it? Because there's a lot of us on that list to get notification.
That's a good point, and here's the age-old question. the county in the fire business or not. You all have
Well, if
special.
you're looking at doing an ordinance.
I understand, and that's where we're asking for input, because a lot of people will tell you, government, stay the hell out of our lives.
Exactly.
But again, when it comes to public safety, where do we cross that line? You've got special districts that do your fire protection that you elect boards to do. My mind coming from one of those, and we were heavy into prevention, we had and still have a vacant lot ordinance down by the hills. We went out and did it. People loved it, because it removed the discretionary decision. You had to do it. So that's what we're trying to wrestle with, Lori, so the input we need, and then we'll be bringing an item, and then how far we go, and I think to Dave's issue as well, when you start going down that road, and Pat, we've had this discussion, is there a county person that ties in all the fire districts and keeps all this going in a coordinated effort? I think, yes, that's the person, he's a fire warden or something that works with the building department, all the fire codes and all the other issues that we have to deal with, and that's the discussion
I have to comment if I could, and I meant to say this at the beginning of our discussion. El Dorado County Fire Safe Council, we struggle with that. That was the original name, that's how we're chartered through the Secretary of State. The word county causes a lot of confusion and implies that we're part of El Dorado County government. We're not. We're a private, independent, 501c3 corporation, public benefit corporation. And so the word county really describes a geographic area as opposed to a political connection.
Yeah, mention the timeframe for getting the.
Oh, sorry. The survey will be open through probably the end of March, because that's when we're gonna start doing the maps and things. So you got a lot of time. Please encourage participation.
The only thing I wanted to add, because I know we need to move on, but to Lori's question, I'm the president of the El Dorado County Historical Society. I'm not part of county government.
Right.
I'm a 501(c)(3), they're a 501(c)(3). We all got county in our name. But, so that's one point I want to say. The other point is that I see this shift that you kind of represent in your presentation to there is going to be more, it is happening right now, and there will be more in the future, cooperation with El Dorado County government to make whatever needs to be done taken care of. And that's what's important today that we've been working towards in terms of my participation to get that going. And you've just represented it so well today.
Thank you, Chris.
Lady in the back?
Oh, yeah, I just had a comment. My name's Liz Ryan. My husband and I own Oakstone Winery now, but we did live in Grizzly Flats for over 20 years. And we built a house up there on 7/10 of an acre. So it was one of the smaller lots in the developed area of Grizzly Park. And when the fire safe thing first came around, we got inspected, and we were told we'd have to cut everything back away from our house 50 feet, all the way around our house. A parcel was only 110 feet wide by 200 and something feet long. So basically they were telling us we had to clear cut our property. And the neighbor would have to do the same, and our neighbor on the other side would have to do the same. And if we couldn't get it cleared back 50 feet away from the house, there could be no overhanging branches from any trees anywhere around our home. So you'd have to scale the tree 200 feet up, or however tall your trees are on your property, cut all the limbs down, or top all your trees. And so it was a physical impossibility, basically. And so you can't, my thought is you cannot implement an ordinance that's gonna put these requirements on everybody's parcel, because everybody's parcel's different.
Right.
And you can't tell you'd have to log Grizzly Flats flat. You'd have to remove every tree if you wanted to have that type of fire safety up there.
What you do, then you evaluate the area, you do shaded fuel breaks to protect certain areas. And that's where you go to the big parcels and you do breaks. You make sure your vegetation doesn't have ladder fuels.
Right.
And that's common sense. So
we did all that.
it's sort of a common sense approach to it, yeah.
5 years ago, when we first were approached with that, though, those types of discussions haven't happened yet. And you just got basically a citation saying log your property. And
Sometimes people don't see it that way, but,
Anyway, just a comment.
I'll pick on Dave here, if our planning commissions would never allow building in certain areas, we wouldn't have that issue. Anyway, the buck stops here though, so I can't blame it on the planning commission. Yes, ma'am.
Who are you, do you know Brown Fairplay?
I would agree that one of the problems with getting the word out about the survey is the fact that a lot of people out here do not get the local paper. Possibly putting a notice in maybe the Windfall, the Gold Panner, putting them up on bulletin boards, some flyers, fire department website. We need to be able to get the word out, because people are not familiar with it.
Great
put hard
suggestion, we
copies.
can do that. We'll
Yeah.
put something in
They're
the
running-
Gold Panner and the Windfall are
They're
good,
running for free,
good
yeah.
sources, and thank you.
Okay, good. Supervisor McLaughlin, Supervisor Bernally. Bernally, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. My list has been growing. First of all, I want to thank particularly Pat and Steve for their leadership. In areas of North County where we're starting new fire safe council, Coloma Locust and on the Divide, where we don't currently have an active group or a CWPP. Your leadership and your ability to carry over the learning that has occurred in the other areas that are far outpacing us is greatly appreciated. And it doesn't get past me that it takes more than just your spouse's support in this effort, participation in this effort is also noted and appreciated. That's important, because when you're talking about a volunteer effort, time away from home, and it becomes critical. That brings me to, just another quick point on that SIG. I forget the name of that outfit. I've had a lot of experience with computer models on all things, from automobiles to bridges to all models need calibrated. Keep on that model, keep calibrating that model, it will get better and be more valuable as time goes on. The other volunteers, the efforts of Ken and Nancy and Heather and Linda and Mark, and other notables, that is really commendable, and I am concerned about the burnout. It's one of the reasons why I am particularly active in the new fire safe councils, because I'm watching what has occurred, and I know that it takes a tremendous amount of volunteer effort. And I keep telling folks, in North County, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Prepare for it, and recruit in that regard. On the matter of an ordinance, the idea of vacant land and such. This is really a sensitive area and challenging area. I just want to remind us all that our county does have a policy, A3. It's a process that is to bring forward a new ordinance, and that we should involve our clerk, who escaped at the moment.
Right.
Oh, there you go. In that process, follow that policy and bringing it forward. It helps us to ensure that we get all the entities involved. We follow a thoughtful process. That is in fact our own ordinance. While it is sensitive where the county government and the fire safe council or any entity that has the county in its name, I think it's okay for us to cross the line here and make sure that that survey is linkable from our county website. And I think that we certainly can do that and should do that. Working that ordinance out is going to be challenging, and I think Liz spoke to some of the practical challenges that we have, though I think we all agree we need to do something. And I'm concerned about when we do that, we need to pay particular attention to the enforcement, the code enforcement side of it, because that will impact our resources. Whether or not we have something equivalent to a countywide fire marshal. I've always thought that would be a good idea, though I realize how complex that whole fire district model is, with a chief, a co-chief, and 5 board members, and now we're adding, another person into the mix. But I think that it can be done, and I think that it should be done. So, thank you.
Supervisor McLaughlin?
Thank you, Chair. You had mentioned that some counties have an employee. We actually had somebody who was kind of keeping tabs on these. There's a CAO analyst named Mike Applegarth. I know Mike departed. I don't know if somebody picked up the torch and kind of continued that, but we did have an analyst who was kind of keeping tabs and consolidating information. So, because some of what whether it's a CWPP or some of the work goes through the county, so we had to have an interface between county, fire safe councils. So maybe there's potential to have an analyst kind of pick up that torch and sort out where we're at. I agree with you. The challenge is going on other people's property to do this work. In your case, you've got neighbors there who are building here, but to pass an ordinance, it's tricky. It raises a fundamental issue. I'm a believer in private property rights. I believe your castle is your castle, no matter how big or how small it is or what it looks like. And it's a tricky one. And somewhere between the need to get this done and community safety and having these programs and abilities to have defensible space and all the great things that we're talking about here, and also respect people's private property rights. You know, maybe someone doesn't want fuels cut in there. People, it's different. People have different views on those things. And it really will bring into question a fundamental issue about those rights. So I think that along with that discussion about an ordinance, if we were to not do that, about that, how it works, what it looks like. I mean, if somebody owns some property, whether it's 5 acres or 10 acres or whatever the case may be, and they say, we're coming in, we're gonna cut all this brush down, and they don't want you to. It's tricky. So it would require some good thought, a good thought, and not only that, but a process. If you were to go down that road, I'd have a hard time being convinced that would be the way to go. It would really depend on what does it look like, how does it work, what does it do, what is the process. So a lot of thoughts can be given to that.
You got one at Eldorado Hills, go take a look at it.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And for instance, what you're talking about is, okay, so let's say you own a vacant lot and it's overgrown. They'll send you a letter to the registered owner and says, hey, you need to go fix this. If you don't respond, I think they'll send you a second one. After the second one, the fire department will hire somebody to go out there and cut all the weeds. That's $75 or $100, whatever it is, depending on the size. And you'll get a bill, usually through your property tax. There'll be some kind of like a little system there, so. Yes, so, but that's different than somebody's home where they're living there. That's a vacant lot, you're right, but, so it, you know, and I understand that.
CSD as well.
What's that?
CSD government parcels as well.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
They like it.
You know, if I chose to live up and own a ranch and I wanted to, you know, have 10 acres and do what I do in my castle, then I might be a little reluctant. Chair, thank you. Thank you for coming.
So this was a presentation. We can sit here and try to solve the big problem, but let's. But for the next one, I want to change outfit so you can start your presentation.
Go ahead, Pat.
Thank you. Yeah, I've used up all of my own time. But go ahead. Before I leave the county one, I'd just like to express gratitude for the outstanding support that we get from the Board of Supervisors. Hadn't always been that way. Really appreciate it. I think as a team we can work together and solve a lot of these problems. So now I'm going to put on a different hat. That can go away for a while. I've got another 300 slides. I'm also the chairperson of the Logtown Fire Safe Council, and you might say, where is Logtown?
Where's Logtown?
It's right between, about halfway between Mud Springs and Pokerville. Mud Springs, the old name for the little town of Eldorado, Blue Reds. Pokerville is Plymouth. Logtown is right on the ridge before you go down to the Consumnes River.
You got me on Pokerville.
Part of Eldorado County. Logtown, like you said, well said, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Logtown, Sandridge, and Grizzly Flat are kind of three of the original successful sustaining fire safe councils in the county. Logtown started over 10 years ago. We put together a CWPP, a plan for our little piece of the puzzle, for our little community, and then started executing that plan with grants and self-help projects, just like you'll hear in some of the other councils, to really make a ring around our community, build a moat, if you will, to protect us from the wildfire. We're now on the last legs of that ring, doing Logtown 9 with the CCC this year. So that's, for us, a no-cost effort, a little bit of cost. That we're paying from our donut sales and our fundraising thing, which the hot dog social, we do one every year, raise some money, and then spend it in our community. Thank you very much for coming and contributing. That was good and enjoying, I hope. So we're executing Logtown 9 now. We're putting in for an SRA grant in this cycle, which are due January 7th. What did you do on your Christmas vacation? So we're going to go Logtown 10. That will complete the ring around our community, the fuel reduction to help protect the community. That's the good news. The bad news, it's like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. The one that we did 10 years ago now requires some goats, some maintenance, and so we'll be working on those things again. But it's been a 10-year effort. It's been really rewarding. It's fun to bring the community together. It's one thing in these rural communities that really sometimes don't have a congealing point, don't have a focal point, where the Fire Safe Council almost ends up being a quasi-government for people to express concerns, and especially in Grizzlies.
We're it in Grizzlies.
Yeah, so that's the report on Logtown. Thank you for wearing the shirt. Now you all know where Logtown is, or not. So thank you very much.
Well, there's been some very good success because it's a ridge prone to burn. And Bernard lives out that way, and he can attest to the work that's been done has certainly saved some structures out there. Maybe a couple of them got burned down, but the majority of them got saved. And it'll happen again. Fires are predictable, and that's an area we just got to be more progressive.
There's no guarantees, but you can increase your odds by doing defensible space and fuel reduction. So thank you all very much. Thank you. Yes?
Thank you so much. Thanks to all the volunteers. The event was great. My husband and I had a great time.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money. Thank you.
Thank you. So,
They get paid.
Sandwich fire safety.
the next one is sandwiches. Let me take this off so you don't.
I will.
That on the table.
Yeah, you don't want to be. Linda has one for you.
I look at Logtown every day, because it sits right up there on top of the hill out my window. Linda Colombo, Sandridge Fire Safe Council. We started about 2005 as the Nashville Fire Safe Council, and it was just about where the flying W is on Sandridge Road, cut in half, and we just decided a 4x4 mile area was about all we could handle at that point in time. And we started a concept of loops, and we did this loop here, which is Jaguar and Trip Road, so that coming up here's the river, you can hardly see it, I know, that it would be a good protection to keep the fire from coming this way. I was told at that point in time that the models showed that a northwest wind is the direction that most fires would come. I kept saying, no, I live down here, and the wind always comes up through the crack in the hill by Logtown and zaps right on up the consumers. Well, guess what? If you got one of these books, the sand fire came up right from here, and this is the sand fire area. And so, because we had that feeling, we went ahead and we did a Zephyr, freshwater, and vintage trail fuels reduction. It's, if you got one of these books, and I know the board all got one a long time ago, on page 1, there's a show how much we moved, like 30 feet on either side of this road. Beforehand, it used to scratch the sides of my truck when we were done with the grant, and we did it for about $80,000. it was big enough that they could get the bulldozers in, they could pull in their manpower, and they could stop the fire. And if you look, it stopped right where that work was done. It gives me goosebumps even now, because this does work. Now, the lot business, we have, I don't know if anybody on the west side of Sandridge has a lot. When we, just prior to this, we had included what used to be the Sandridge Outingdale area that went all the way to Bucks Bar. We annexed them because we have an opportunity to get a grant to do from 49 to Bucks Bar, and we cleared 30 feet on either side, some places only 10, and most of the places that were only 10 were up here where we have subdivisions. We have people who are on 2, 5, 7 acres, 10 acres, small parcels compared to what's on the west side. So the clearing wasn't as noticeable as it is on the west side, but it still allowed for visibility. That's one of the biggest things that I heard from fire folks is if you can't see around the corner, you know, there was a lot of problems, there have been a lot of problems. I was told by CAL FIRE there were no head-on collisions during that fire, which they thought was phenomenal. We also only lost 2 telephone poles in the sand fire on our side of the river. So this Fire Safe Council thing does work, and I really feed on the excitement. So because we had got this loop thing going, we decided to do, put in for a grant for the Morning Canyon Loop. And right now, these roads are being done. We have a major problem. We've put out for bid twice. The second one is coming due. The first one, we got one person, one contractor that came up and was willing to make a bid on it. I don't know what we're going to do. We can't find the people to do the work because I know there's so many of them are out there working because of the King Fire and the Sand Fire. They don't need the money right now, but we've got the money and we have to spend it, and I hate saying that, but that's the way it goes. So this grant is in process. Dave Buki and Kirk Doherty live there. Kirk was instrumental in, I got somebody with a little airplane to take him up. And we paid out of our contract money because it's for photography, for maintenance, to take the pictures. And so Kirk's really involved, enthusiastic. Dave Buki has been phenomenal. They have gotten a 96% right of entry sign-on in this area. Unheard of. Unheard of. I mean, we've struggled. We thought we put on the grant that we would hope to get 75 or 80%. So this is phenomenal. So we've done that. I was contacted in our July meeting for a group. I was asking for people to get loop things. We are looking at a loop for Nutmeg. I've tried to contact those people. You talk about the burnout. You know, you've got everybody out there working. We're trying to do a Nutmeg loop on the north side so that, like the fire that started in Bucks Bar last year or so, came up that ridge, so we could protect this whole plateau. So we have a really active plan. And it is all boots on the ground. I've got now, there's Virginia is down here working with me at this end, and Dave and Kirk are working up here. Gretchen and Ripley are in the middle. We're trying real hard to keep people really involved. It's very, very hard. The way we used to do it out here, because these people don't go online and pick up Facebook as much as they should. Some of them get the newspaper, but it's hidden in a corner and you never see it. We used to do a little newsletter that looked like, you know, about 1 page mailed out. Mail-outs are expensive. But we got a hold of 1,000 people at a time. Right now, I don't have the money to do that again. With this grant, we did write in some outreach, and so we can add the cost of mail-outs. But mail-outs, person to person, people get it in the mailbox, they really do react that way. And, you know, your concept of, I love the 4291 thing. I came here through Sandridge Road instead of coming around over to your area, and I've got to say, it's just absolutely thrilling to see that what we've done has become contagious, and people are doing their own stuff, things that we didn't get before, they didn't sign on. It does work, but man, I don't know how you do it. So we have a really active plan. You were asking about preparations after a fire. We had this from NRCS, Dan Marquis. I would suggest that the board perhaps have, there's a lot of conversation going on here, have a meeting, a half-day meeting where all the fire safe councils for the county come in, and all the, sometimes people are inhibited when you get too many people in, but this down-home stuff, everybody's really grabbing it. We know what's going on the ground, and I just think it would be a really beneficial, even if it was only 3 or 4 hours, and nobody drags on, just get it done. So anyway, this is the kind of book that we put in our outreach in the grant. I tried to give them out to everybody, but I only had 21 left. This is a picture of the sand fire. This is a picture of the sand fire while it's happening. And here's our new fire safe council as it stands. I would love to join in with, we used to be part of El Dorado County Fire Safe Council, and I have to find out if there is a problem with grants, because one of the reasons we stayed out was because they would only allow 1 grant per entity. Where's Pat? And that's so we could get grants and they could get grants. That was really good, but I know Grizzly gets grants and they're part of it. So perhaps there's a place where, we had the benefit of continually working. We've never been without a grant. And I don't want to lose that, but I really love what you've done, Pat. It's absolutely phenomenal. You guys have far surpassed anything that was ever done before, and you really deserve it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Yep.
Good
And
job,
picture
Linda.
for you if you want for your office. The sand fire, just so you remember we're out here.
We won't let her forget.
Linda, thank you so much to
Yeah.
you and all your volunteers, and I really appreciate you keeping me in the loop. The tour that you gave me, it's been
It was
almost the
long.
whole day.
I almost shook your little tush a little too much there, because I gotta tell
I don't
you,
think
she
so.
said, the DOT people, they said that's why they have all the bumps in the dirt road out here, is because people drive too fast. But we got you done in 2
Maybe I was
hours.
driving too long, I'm just kidding.
Did you take the DOT people on Sandridge, by the way, the other day, Frazier?
No,
Yeah, I wish you would have, because he deserves to see that.
Thank you, Linda. The next one is Grizzly Flats Fire Safe Council. Mark Palmer.
Good morning. Board, first of all, thank you for having us, county staff, and thanks for everybody coming today. Today I'm going to highlight some of our history projects and accomplishments over the last few years. That's 2006 through 15. We're not going to go through the entire thing. We've actually been in existence through 2004. Next slide. For those of you who don't know where we're kind of at the end of the road out here in comparison to way down where the county government center is. Next slide. And this is our sphere of recognition. We have just recently expanded it to include our watershed through the CSD. We partnered very closely with the Grizzly Flats Community Services District, because we know if there's a fire, it's going to affect our water supply also. Next. All right, and in 2006, one of our first accomplishments on our community wildfire protection plan is our primary evacuation route, which you see in blue there, and then they also did some of the collector roads, which you see in the kind of red color. Next. Then also, as part of our 2006 CWPP shaded fuel breaks, this was the conceptual plan. There was GF4 starting on your left, working north and wrapping around to the east and south through GF7. The next slide will show actually what the work that was actually done. Next slide. And in the brown, I'm sorry, I'm standing in front of you here. In the brown, that actually shows what was done. There was some private land owners that did their own shaded fuel breaks. And as you can see, we're kind of bordered by the National Forest to the south. In addition, we've got a little section off of our Main Street in the center of town here. And that's where I kind of want to touch on what we were speaking of on the frustrations with private landholders. One of our recent grants that we received, we contacted the landowner who owns 37 acres, which includes our historic cemetery, and we were basically willing to throw $50,000 worth of work on his vacant 37 acres. He lives in Santa Barbara County. We contacted him several times. He said, no thanks, no thanks. Our secretary at the time actually drove down and met with him. In addition, our supervisor also contacted him, Shiva contacted him, and still said, no thanks, you're not touching my land. He had these ladder fuels like we've all been talking about today, tiny little saplings. He said, that's gonna be my timber someday. 3 or 4 generations later maybe, but so we're still trying to get this gentleman to do this, but these are, again, you know, we're all talking about the same frustrations, and, you know, it's, what you've seen, we all kind of work together under the leadership of Pat and the County Fire Safe Council. Fire does not know council boundaries, political boundaries, geographic boundaries. Our fire is their fire, and vice versa.
That's right.
Next slide. Okay, and as I mentioned, to our south, here's the main part of our subdivision here. To our south, the Forest Service has been an excellent partner in recognizing the hazards that their land also has on our community. So they have done several different projects to try and help a fire coming from the south into Grizzly Flats. Next slide. And again, as I mentioned, and we have a representative from the Grizzly Flats Community Services District, we're fortunate enough to have fire hydrants in the community, and along with wonderful water. So that helps protect our community, and again, we work closely with the CSD. The fact that we do have fire hydrants helps our ISO rating and helps keep our insurance rates lower for those that will insure us. And again, we had, that was discussed earlier about the insurance commissioner. I wanted to add that we are having a flurry of cancellations, as Brian had mentioned. I've written Dave Jones, our state insurance commissioner, twice with no response. And the last one went certified, it was received, and still no response. We've invited him to the community, or we'd be happy to go to Sacramento and meet with him. This is an epidemic, and we're all gonna be affected by it. I would consider our property, along with several others that live in the community, they have done an excellent job on defensible space, but just on the other side of the property line, maybe 30 feet away, it's a jungle. And these people don't want to do work, and in turn, it's affecting us.
What's the population of this right here? Roughly?
1,200 people within the CSD, and about 650 homes, Jody?
We have about 600 meter connections, so.
Yeah. So.
I have 1,100, but.
Yeah, so thereabouts. Our population sign says like 1,260 or something like that, but then it went way down during the foreclosure market. Next slide. All right, and for the fiscal year 2014-15, our membership, along with the community, and we track a community effort hours too, logged 7,739 volunteer hours in fire prevention efforts. And based upon what a volunteer hour is worth, I think it's like $23 and something cents, that equated to 178,539 in volunteer efforts. Next slide. Okay, and it was also mentioned earlier that the CCC is doing some work in town in one of the easement areas. We have also partnered with the CCC on several projects. In fact, they are coming back to our community on January 6th, and we're going to enjoy about $250,000 worth of free labor from them. So this is one of the before shots where they were working. Next slide. And after. Again, we're not clear cutting, and the young lady in back, I'd love to know who came out and told you to clear cut your property. Oh, CAL FIRE. Okay. I thought it was us because I was going to have a little chat with somebody.
6 or 7 years ago, I think, yeah.
Okay. Another before shot, and this is dramatic. This is after. These, and we did send notices to everybody saying, by the way, this work is going to be done. It is within the county right of way. It's not on your property, and we went out and identified property markers for everybody. But these people apparently never saw the letter, and they got really upset because this fence, which eventually blew down, exposed their grow. So be it. Sometimes these things take care of themselves.
A burning issue.
Exactly, and we don't even want to go there. That's why everybody hangs around the fires, in the grow areas. Before I start talking about this, one thing I also did want to add is in April, we had a tabletop evacuation drill that we had over 16 different public agencies participate, including the Board of Supervisors. Shiva was there. And we had CAL FIRE, Grizzly Flats CSD, EDSO, Pioneer Fire Force Service, and El Dorado Transit, just to name a few, PG&E. And we had a mock fire that started in the middle fork of the Gasumnes in that canyon. And within a few hours, overnight, it reached the community and started consuming homes. So we gave all the different participants interject cards saying this house is on fire, this road is blocked due to an accident with a CAL FIRE vehicle. So we gave them every challenge possible. This was our second one that we had done, and we're trying to do it every 2 years. Actually, Fox 40 came up and covered us. So it was very successful and very positive feedback from all the agencies, and that way they all know each other. They're going to see each other again out on the fire lines. CHP was also there. So again, it worked out very well. On July 18th, we had our 11th annual fundraiser, and we always do this as part of our public education effort, and this is also our Firewise Day. So we try and have everybody stop at our pub ed booths, learn about fire prevention, and at the same time have a good time and a good meal. Next. We raised over $7,000, which helps fund our annual projects, administrative expenses relating to grant applications, pub ed efforts, and community volunteer fuel reduction effort expenses. Next. And you might recognize someone in that slide, actually 2 people at least. Shiva attended, and we also have several other public agency officials that normally attend. Don Spear from DOT is always there. He's always a huge supporter of our Fire Safe Council and comes to all of our monthly meetings on his own time off. So he's been wonderful for us. Next. And on the 26th of September, we had our annual community cleanup, and we removed several hundred tons of trash, green waste appliances, green wood, and ultimately, a lot of these things end up being dumped in our national forest, which is just at the edge of our community. And you go out there now, and you can still find frames of cars and refrigerators and the like, and ultimately, besides being a public safety issue, ultimately these things can burn too. So, other things besides ladder fuels and trees burn. Next. Right, and as I mentioned, we partner with several El Dorado County departments, including the Board of Supervisors, DOT, Environmental Management, Code Enforcement, and we also have a good relationship with Pioneer Fire Protection District, CAL FIRE, and again, the Forest Service. As I mentioned, the Forest Service is very proactive in making sure that they consider our community when they're doing their fuel reduction work. Next. And this is huge. We have never had cell service in Grizzly Flats, and in October, we led a grassroots effort to rally several public agencies along with the Board of Supervisors, EDSO, different fire agencies to help support our a cell tower being installed in Grizzly Flats. And at the Planning Commission meeting on October 22nd, it was unanimously approved, and we will be getting cell service somewhere in the spring. So, and this isn't just a convenience where you can sit down on your smartphone and cruise the internet and order your Christmas gifts. This is public safety, folks, and it's we've had several occasions where people have seen roadside fires, go to use their cell phone, no service. So then they're banging on doors trying to find a landline, which our landlines up there are not being maintained anymore. It's purely reactive maintenance, and this has been really huge on public safety. Next. And again, another common theme, the undeveloped lots. And we also totally support a overall ordinance. We've been working with Shiva and the Code Enforcement Division and trying out an existing nuisance abatement ordinance, but we totally get that there's one code enforcement officer for the entire county. And this person, like Jim Wasser was when he was working, stretched to the max and is only able to handle so much. But we totally support some sort of funding mechanism and cost recovery. It's not going to work unless there's the staff and a way to fund this. Next. Okay, so here's kind of what we're dealing with on vacant lots in Grizzly Flats. And incidentally, we've, except with one lot next to us, we've had the ability, when they've gone up for sale, to buy the adjacent lots next to us. And we have small lots in the subdivision. Some of them are as small as a quarter acre, some are a little over an acre, but
We being the CSD.
within Grizzly Flats, yes. So, within the CSD's service area. So they're small lots. So this is kind of what you deal with. Well, this happened to be a lot that was directly behind us, and the lot came up for sale, we purchased it, and next slide. Oh, I don't know what happened to, there was another one, but anyway, it doesn't look like that anymore. With about 200 hours worth of work, and other than the gas for a chainsaw, it didn't cost me anything to do it, other than my sweat labor. And that's kind of what we're looking for from everybody. So again, thanks to everybody, and do you have any questions? Phil?
I got something to point out. I'm with the Fire Safety Council. My name is Phil Dayton. 20 years as a firefighter, 8.5 years with Pioneer Fire as a volunteer until I just recently resigned. One of the best education things we did as Grizzly Flat Council this year was we made it signs that said no burn. Simple election type signs, very inexpensive. Skip came up with the idea. We invested in it, what, about $200?
Yep.
This was the first summer in Pioneer District in Grizzly we did not respond to any illegal burns. Community put them up in their yards. Nobody had illegal fires.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Best bang for the buck.
Yes, sir.
Mark, you brought up the thing concerning the insurance commissioner.
Yes.
I was on a phone call with Nevada County Fire Safe Council last night, and they had run into the same problem of a lot of their residents are losing their homeowner's insurance or renewal of their insurance. And they have tried to go down, or the word try is not right, but communicate with the state insurance commissioner, and they're trying to work it from that side too. But I think Amador County has had very similar problems. I think this whole Mother Lode area is losing their homeowners insurance, and if people are trying to buy a home and can't show their loan agent that they can get insurance, they're running into problems as well.
And ultimately, besides affecting us that are existing residents up here, it affects the overall health and economic development of this county. And I think it would be good if all of the fire safe councils within the county, and starting with the County Fire Safe Council and Pat and Steve, if we're not getting anywhere with the insurance commissioner, and that's what I'm hearing, that it sounds like it's a common theme, that nobody's getting anywhere with them. I think maybe we can start at the local level and ask the Board of Supervisors to see, because ultimately, if people cannot purchase property in El Dorado County, they're not going to be shopping in El Dorado County. The funds aren't going to be coming in to El Dorado County. You may get the transient people coming through and buying their Christmas trees, stopping at the wineries, things like that, but ultimately, we as residents also support this county.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a resident of Grizzly Flat. My name's Christina Holum, and my question is that while we have done what we can to protect around our house safely, we had the council come out and check us, and other than a couple of ornamental trees, they thought we were pretty good. But my concern is just to the north is National Forest, and just to the south is National Forest. And my husband has to go through there with a chainsaw yearly so I could ride my horses through there. It's so undergrown. So what protection can we have there? It really doesn't matter how much we protect our land if the National Forest is right there, and it's a disgrace as far as the undergrowth.
That's a good point, and obviously working with the Forest Service is a challenge, but it's not one that we can overcome, so we have to just continue to pound away at them. And
It's also gonna put the Barzin Cell Tower in danger.
Yeah.
Yes.
It does matter that you clear your own property, because the fire department will go and protect your property if it is defensible space. If it's not, they're gonna keep going until they find one that can.
Yep.
So what you've done is valuable, 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 and yes, keep working with the Forest Service. That's it.
Okay.
My question is, Michael, have you addressed this issue, or is this conversation taking place at RCRC?
It has. And I had the benefit of sitting with my counterpart from Tuolumne County supervisor that had the rim fire, and of course, a whole lot of their territory that was their, okay, so our King Fire was 96,000 acres with, I don't know, 63,000 that is owned by SBI and 23,000 owned by, private property owners, a small amount. To Mary's point earlier. In their case, 275,000 acres burned, and a whole lot of it is not private property. And so, having a sit down with Randy Moore, who, is responsible for all those Forest Service directors, was very helpful, but it was also enlightening in how much work we have to do. This was at an RCRC conference. The supervisors were all surrounding him over this matter. We got a lot of work to do, and understanding the barriers from their side is a very difficult process, because, frankly, after about 15 minutes, I want to hear it. I just want something to occur. But you're talking about federal issues.
But insurance commissioner, Mr. Jones, is that something that RCRC has taken up?
I don't know that we have, if I'm not mistaken, he is appointed by the governor?
No, he's elected.
He's elected.
We elected him 3 or 4 years ago.
We probably didn't vote for him, but we did elect him.
Yeah, I'm feeling that, 'cause it's jumping out of me.
Michael, the RCRC is the rural.
Rural counties representatives of California. We are supervisors from 34 rural counties. So when we get together in a room, we have a whole lot in common. And that's what brings me into close proximity with my counterparts from Amador and Calaveras and Tuolumne and those others. You know, some of which are significantly challenged. And I will specifically, in fact, we have an RCRC meeting this week, but it conflicts with our water agency meeting. But I will follow up on the question about the insurance commissioner. In the meantime, to work with the federal government through I want to say HR, what was the House bill, the Resilient Forest Act. Some of these are helpful.